Brocktober didn't end the way that the 49ers hoped. Brock Purdy, though, how would you assess, Wilson, his performance in his first Super Bowl? Did he have a good game?
Yeah, no, I thought he did have a good game. I mean, like I said early on, they leaned on the run game. Christian McCaffrey was running all over the Chiefs defense. They had very few answers. The problems came, and this has been a recurring theme for Brock, is that he's not that tall, and he is susceptible to getting passes knocked down at the line of scrimmage. The Chiefs are really good at knocking down passes at the line of scrimmage. We saw that. The other issue is that while typically Debo and Brandon Ayuk can just run through by over guys, Trent McDuffie, L'Jarius Sneed are legit. Now, they're some of the best players in the NFL at their respective positions. And Trent McDuffie, I don't know if he said it here or heard it somewhere else, but there's an argument to be made that he could have been in the running for MVP as well with the way he played that game. And I just think they ran out of bullets. I don't think Brock Purdy did anything outrageous. The throw to the use check, he spun out of a couple tackles, was a great play. He was going right, and then he came back and came left to Christian McCaffrey. He had a nice little run down the sidelines on a little dump off. Was also a good play at a couple of anticipation throws that he's done throughout the year repeatedly, but he wasn't asked to do too much. I guess you could argue he had a couple of Jimmy G moments where he overthrew guys who were potentially going to have touchdowns. The Debo one initially was a PBU by Trent McDuffie. The other one, I think he overthrew either Ayuk or maybe Debo again later in the game. But I have no issue with the way he played, and no one's talking about it because he had nothing to do with the outcome. I think there are 10 other reasons as to why the 49ers found themselves in the position they did, and Brock Purdy was not it.
Yeah, I feel like his overtime drive kind of epitomized his entire game. You went 4-6 for 50 yards and looked pretty sharp. But then when Shanahan said, hey, we're going to put the ball in your hands on that 3rd and 4, let's convert this. Let's go to get a touchdown. And Purdy couldn't do it. And they end up kicking that field goal in overtime. Because, look, he had a huge fourth quarter, 5 of 7, 57 yards, 1 touchdown. Decent in overtime, but couldn't convert that 3rd down, which was the huge play of the game. But I thought the one time where they really needed Purdy and he didn't come through was really the entire 3rd quarter, because after Patrick Mahomes threw that interception on the Chiefs' opening possession, you're the 49ers. You get the ball at the Chiefs' 44-yard line. If you get just a field goal there, you're up 2 scores in the 3rd quarter, which is exactly where you want to be. And they didn't even, you only need a few yards to get in field goal range, probably 5 yards get you in field goal range, because we saw Jake Moody hit a 55-yarder in that game. They couldn't even get 5 yards. And so Purdy in that 3rd quarter went 4 of 10 for 25 yards. If you score there, as I said, you're up 2 scores, but then they got the ball again and they were still up 10-3 and they still couldn't do anything. So if they could have scored anything in the quarter, that would have been their chance to step on Kansas City's jugular and kind of probably almost put the game away. It's Patrick Mahomes. You never know. But they didn't do it just because that was when their offense stagnated. They kind of gave up on Christian McCaffrey in the 3rd quarter, put it in Purdy's hands, and he didn't do anything.
Just 2 rushing attempts for Christian McCaffrey in that 3rd quarter. I believe that the 49ers had 36 net yards on 14 plays in the 3rd quarter, which actually sort of belies their drives, because they only had 3 drives in the 4th quarter. Am I reading that right? The game book says 36 yards, but it looks like they had 3 drives and they couldn't muster anything. Now, I mean, like, Kansas City's defense is really, really good. I come back to Kyle Shanahan on this one in terms of it's like, can Brock Purdy win the 49ers a Super Bowl? And the answer is yes. Like, you were leading by double digits in the Super Bowl. If you were winning by double digits in the Super Bowl, even if you end up losing the Super Bowl, in my opinion, that means you can win a Super Bowl with whoever got you to the dance. Now, I know that, like, I think it's a little unfair that the Brady 28-3 comeback falls on Kyle Shanahan more than it does on Dan Quinn. Like, when Washington hires Dan Quinn, the talking point is he got the Falcons to a Super Bowl. But it's like Kyle Shanahan lost in the Super Bowl. He's not even the head coach. And to me, it's not about like Kyle's a choker. It's more about, Kyle has gotten the most out of quarterbacks like Matt Ryan, who's a really, really much better quarterback than the other 2 guys I'm going to name, but Jimmy Garoppolo, and then Brock Purdy, all 3 of whom he got to a Super Bowl and had a big lead in the Super Bowl with. And, it might just be a case of Patrick Mahomes could be the greatest quarterback of all time. And Tom Brady it's either him or Tom Brady. And those are the guys that beat Kyle in these spots. It's not like Brock Purdy let him down.
Yeah, but they could have run the ball at 28-3. That's the talking point there. They could have not taken the ball first in overtime. That's the talking point that Breach mentioned earlier. There are reasons that Kyle Shanahan, OC/coach, they lost these games. I mean, it's, yes, Tom Brady and Patrick Mahomes, but they didn't maximize every opportunity either.
Well, I think that was because I kind of brought that up last night with how the last 2 Super Bowls, he's only averaged 3 points per fourth quarter, 9 last night, but 0 in the Falcons game, 0 in Super Bowl 54. And that's not going to cut it when you're playing the best teams, and you're going to be playing the best teams in the Super Bowl. And the only thing I would say about the Dan Quinn versus Kyle Shanahan thing is I feel like Shanahan is getting grilled because he's been in this situation so many times. When you saw him blow a 10-point lead in Super Bowl 54, when he blows a 10-point lead in the NFC title game and then blows another 10-point lead in the Super Bowl. If Dan Quinn in 5 years gets to 2 more Super Bowls and blows 2 double-digit leads, we will be talking a lot about how he blew the lead. And, it's just bad that Kyle Shanahan's the only one that's made it this far. And fair or unfair, that's the label you're going to get, is the guy that just can't win the big game. And, do you think Shanahan is going to watch this film and think that Brock Purdy made all the great decisions? Or, Shanahan has a wandering eye when it comes to a quarterback. Do you think this will be the offseason where he finally does not have a wandering eye because he's happy with how Brock Purdy ran the offense? And Brock Purdy was awesome this year.
$1.1 million is what Brock Purdy makes next year.
Yep. And remember, this past offseason, myself included, everybody wanted to make a big quarterback controversy in San Francisco with Brock Purdy because Brock Purdy was hurt, even though he played his way, before the injury into keeping the job. But then because he was hurt, everyone agreed, maybe, you gotta at least consider it. And Kyle Shanahan stood by him, traded Trey Lance and said, Brock Purdy's our guy. And
but also tried to sign Tom Brady. So we didn't completely.
Well, I mean,
yeah, if you get Tom Brady, you get Tom Brady. It makes sense. But he did at least, he thought, hey, what if Brock's elbow doesn't heal fast? Why don't we see if Tom Brady wants to play for us?
Yeah, if it were like him trying to sign
Kirk Cousins.
Yeah.
Who will be a free agent?
Okay. All right. He does love some Kirk Cousins. I mean, but isn't Kirk Cousins just like older Brock Purdy?
No, Kirk Cousins is a lot better than Brock Purdy.
But Purdy's more athletic.
Yeah.
Which I think Shanahan likes. Well, this Super Bowl loss, Purdy played a B+ football. He looked good. As Wilson said, nobody's, or Brinson, both of you guys said it. This is just not, he didn't win the game for them, but he didn't lose the game for them.
Yeah.
And it's not Purdy's fault that the 49ers didn't win.
I put it more on Patrick Mahomes for just taking another Super Bowl from another team than I do on Brock Purdy giving the game away personally. And I think Wilson's point about his cost is extremely important. If you can keep a quarterback for that price, especially when you have all of these other guys who need to get paid both on offense, or all these other guys who are either have gotten paid or are going to get paid on the defensive side of the ball and the offensive side of the ball. Like, to have that many stars, as many as they do, having that cheap quarterback helps a ton.
Yep.
And that's why it will be interesting, I guess, not this offseason, next offseason, when the 49ers have to pay Brock Purdy when he's eligible for that extension after the 2024 season. That is when we can rehash this conversation of what's Purdy's future. How much money are you going to give him? But we don't need to figure that out now.